teraz sa budú možno...
Mr. President, I want to openly say at this meeting that it is very important for us to standardize our bilateral relations. I want to propose a meeting of the Joint Commission as soon as possible. We should return to what was typical for our countries, meaning deeper, stronger and more successful economic cooperation. I want to thank you for the safe and regular gas deliveries that we receive through TurkStream. Now the media might have fun with this, but I began telling your spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, a story about a frog before this meeting. Sometimes I feel like we are like that frog at the bottom of a well. We sit there and think that what we see from the well is the whole world. But unfortunately, the world is different. Sometimes I'm very disappointed that we are not able to respond to global movements within the European Union, even though we greatly value the EU as our living space. But I don't understand some of the decisions being made. Therefore, Mr. President, I want to openly say at this meeting that it is very important for us to standardize our bilateral relations. I want to propose a meeting of the Joint Commission as soon as possible. We should return to what was typical for our countries, meaning deeper, stronger and more successful economic cooperation. I want to thank you for the safe and regular gas deliveries that we receive through TurkStream. The volume is gradually increasing, reaching nearly 4 billion cubic meters. I emphasize very firmly, we harshly respond to any attacks on our critical infrastructure. I am going to meet with the Ukrainian president in Uzhhorod on Friday and will vigorously raise this issue. It's unacceptable that infrastructure vital to Slovakia is attacked in this way. You know our view on the European Commission's decision regarding REPowerEU, meaning the cessation of transporting gas and oil from January 1, 2028. We will never support this decision, we will vote against it in the EU. But I am convinced that much can change by January 1, 2028. And that REPowerEU, this highly harmful decision, will not be valid. Therefore, I repeat, we want to continue cooperating in the energy sector. We are interested in supplies of Russian gas and oil. We are keen to collaborate in other areas as well, and I can say that the Slovak Republic wants to build a completely new state-managed nuclear reactor with a capacity of about 1,100 megawatts. We are communicating with the US Westinghouse company. You know well that all existing Slovak reactors are of Soviet, Russian manufacture. Nuclear power in Slovakia generates more than half of Slovakia's electricity consumption. I would welcome Russian-US cooperation on this new project, and I will encourage specialized Russian companies to communicate with Westinghouse for such opportunities. Therefore, if you agree, esteemed Mr. President, I propose setting a date for the meeting of the Joint Commission. I think we are moving forward. We have started issuing visas for Russian citizens. We are within Schengen, it's complicated, but I see no reason why the standardization of relations between our countries shouldn't continue. Esteemed Mr. President, as I mentioned, I am not coming with any message. On the contrary, on many topics related to the Ukrainian conflict, I have diametrically different positions than some EU member states. Therefore, I want to use this meeting, esteemed Mr. President, to see if perhaps I should bring back a message from you. We closely followed the summit you held with the US President, which I congratulate you on. It was a significant step you've taken, and I would greatly appreciate basic information on where we stand, what we can expect. On the one hand, I am heavily criticized for being in Beijing, and for meeting with you. On the other hand, everyone will call tomorrow, asking what President Putin said, what's going on. So I would appreciate it if we exchanged some basic information in this regard. Once again, thank you for this opportunity. I am pleased to see you. I am glad we are taking step by step towards developing our relations. I remind you once again that we are in the EU. We are facing a serious decision regarding Ukraine's membership in the EU. It is a significant decision. We affirm that every country has the right to a European perspective, including Ukraine, but at the same time, we emphasize that Ukraine must meet all conditions for joining the EU and that political criteria cannot overtake the readiness of this state to join. I believe this will be a significant topic which I will discuss with President Zelensky on Friday. We support Ukraine's freedom. I am very glad my words have come true that Ukraine cannot join NATO. I was saying this very clearly from the beginning. I hope this topic is definitively settled, but regarding the EU, it is a subject which we are prepared to work on very intensively.
We greatly appreciate the independent foreign policy that you, your team, and your government conduct. The policy yields positive results. First of all, I mean economic data. In this regard, I want to note that Russia remains a reliable supplier of energy resources, but some of your companies continue to work successfully in the Russian market, which, in my opinion, is also beneficial for the Slovak economy as a whole. Unfortunately, we live in difficult conditions related to various external restrictions. Once, our trade turnover was $10 billion if calculated in equivalent terms. Now it has dropped to less than 4%. However, there are certain positive tendencies. I hope that we will be able to strengthen them. I am very glad for the opportunity to meet with you again.